The 2025 Monster Energy AMA Supercross track maps have now been released, and we'll give you guys a link in the description below to check out. Anaheim 1 is, of course, the first stop on the schedule, and we built it in Monster Energy Supercross 6 to check out what it might look like in-game. So let's go ahead and jump in and see what 2025 A1 has to offer for the racers on the racetrack. Before we check out A1, guys, be sure to check out Race Tech seminars coming up this November. Don't miss your chance to learn from renowned suspension specialist Paul Thied. Many industry technicians got their start at these seminars, and you can too. Visit the link in our description to sign up for suspension and engine seminars coming up in November from the 2nd to the 10th. All right, so let's check out this 2025 Anaheim 1 track. Built it in Monster Energy Supercross 6, the official video game. Little call to action to you guys today. I built this on the PC. It's called SYS Anaheim1 25. I'll put the name of it on the screen, and I'll also keep up the graphic of the track on screen so you guys can kind of compare to what the graphic looks like versus what I built in the game. If you guys get this video to 200 likes, I will also build it on either PS5 or Xbox, whichever one I'm able to get to first, and then hopefully I'll build it on the other one when I get a little bit of time. But yeah, 200 likes, and we'll build it on one of the console systems as well. Anyway, playing as Jorge Prado, who is going to come to the USA in 2025. He is supposed to be a Monster Energy Kawasaki rider, and he is going to be number 70. So kind of a fun little tidbit tie-in that we'll see him at A1 looking kind of like this. But yeah, so let's talk about this track a little bit. A lot of the tracks been released today. The only one that hasn't, I think, is Daytona, but we'll go through and kind of discuss those a little bit as well. Yeah, there's going to be a couple elements I couldn't quite put on the Supercross 6 track. There's a couple rollers going back and forth across the start straight, pretty much right there, and going either way right there. There's no roller right there, and there's no roller right here, but there's a roller coming into this corner. So pretty much everything else I built, I think, just about as close to what it's going to be in 2025. And this is a pretty interesting Anaheim 1. It's, I would say, back to a little bit of like the tame Anaheim 1 that we've had in the past, because there's really only this one long rhythm section down the third base side of the track. Other than that, there's nothing that to me really stands out as like, good gracious, this is going to be a super gnarly track. Like even this back rhythm section, it's pretty much either just an on-off double or an over table to a triple. They even included this short straightaway right here, which I don't know. I'm guessing that might be the mechanics area, since when they come across the start right here, like I said, there's supposed to be a roller right here. Maybe it will be like a single jump, so they might jump into this, for example, or go over table, jump across, and then quad into the corner or something like that. Finish line jump double, and then on the track map, they left it to the same 9 whoops that they were doing in 2024. That is a new kind of like decree by Feld Motorsports. They looked at some data and decided that a lot of the injuries in the whoops are happening basically whoop like 12 or 11 onward. So they limited it to just 9 whoops last year. And as far as I'm aware, I don't believe that to be changing. It might change at a couple rounds, but I can't imagine, based on some of the track maps I've seen, that it's going to be drastically different in a lot of areas. Anyway, I think this track is kind of basic. I think that there's going to be some more fun ones coming in the schedule, and at the end of this video, we'll just kind of go through and look at a few of the tracks that are coming up. And I'm keen to know what you guys would also like to see built, because I would like to build a few more of these as we get closer to Anaheim 1 and kind of just see what some of these tracks are going to be like. Like I'm thinking, maybe first East round would be kind of fun to look at. Glendale's going to be tough because Glendale's always massive, so I don't know that I'll even be able to build it, but I know people love that track. And then there's actually a few tracks that have some interesting like over-under options, but we'll get to that in just a minute. So Anaheim 1, like I said, pretty basic track. The 9 whoops. Sand section, that will be, I feel pretty basic, because like the sand section on this track just built in a sweeper. They might have like some inside rollers, outside options that are a bit smoother or something like that. I do think that these rollers, which there's going to be another one right here. So as you come from, how do I look back? There we go. As you come from that rhythm section and you maybe go, let's say 2, or maybe 3, and you can use that last single to jump to this roller, and you'll double into the corner. You can see these guys going on, or actually some of them just went over, so they would launch to about there and then jump the quad into the corner in the background there. So there's a couple different available options, I feel like, using that little roller in the middle, because the track map that they've laid out is kind of like got a split start again. We saw some of those split starts at SMX, and they would come together and stuff like that. This one's just, basically have a roller between it. It's, I guess, very similar to what Nashville had in 2024. It had a little bit of a roller in the middle of it, and that actually kind of bit Chase Sexton pretty hard, if you guys remember. He had a big crash on that roller. So it's not... I feel like it's going to end up being pretty one line, but it does have a little bit of a extra interesting dynamic to it in that it creates maybe just a couple more options than we are normal to seeing going across the start straight. Because I generally feel like if you leave a roller out right here, everybody's going to come down this straightaway. They'll probably even tuck to the inside in this corner right here because you don't need to go outside to go on off. And then you'll just build up speed coming across the start straight to easily nail this quad into the corner. So I feel like that would be super one line if they didn't have a roller there, but they might not include it. Like, there's a lot of times that they'll build a track and just straight up not have it as part of the track map. So I would not be surprised to see a few changes to this before we get to Anaheim 1. But then again, I feel like Dirtworks and the Feld Track Crew, as they like to be called, have been switching it up a little bit more of late, had a little bit more freedom, I guess is what you would call it, to change things up a little bit and do some interesting, obstacles, or really ultimately kind of, see something on a track that maybe isn't going to work for racing and change it before they race on it. Like, I go to press days and I see what these tracks look like when they originally build them. And then sometimes press days will show that there's going to be a section that really doesn't have any value to the racetrack at all. And so overnight they'll, maybe lower a jump in it or something just to slightly alter the dynamic of the entire straightaway and rhythm section and stuff like that. So I think that this is pretty close to what we'll see for Anaheim 1 in 2025, but there's a very real chance that some of this stuff changes. And yeah, kind of keen to know what you guys think about what this track looks like, whether or not it's even a good track, because it might also just straight up look like a bad track to race on. There's not a whole lot of like bowl berms. Like, there's a lot of these like open-ended corners where, it's, let's say, a 120-degree corner, 105-degree corner. There's a bowl corner after the finish right there. But, even after the whoops where there should be passing opportunities, it's sand. And then you have all these bowl corners going back and forth across the straightaway. But the only time we've really seen a lot of drama with these types of corners is when Hayden Deegan and Jordan Smith got into each other at 2023 Detroit. So I don't know that this even opens up that much opportunity for passing. And then because it's in a baseball stadium, you have a lot of these. They're not full bowl corner type corners. Like, that's not a bowl corner. I would not classify it as such, at least. At least this one is here, so maybe you can set up something here. But then as soon as you come out of this corner, instead of setting up for another left-hand bowl corner, you set up for like this right, barely more than a 90-degree corner, and then you're into the rhythm section, which I do think this rhythm section will be tricky. As you can see, based on the way that I built it off the spec of the track map, I think that there's actually going to be quite a few different options available in the rhythm section, like roll in, double 3-3-3-3, or something like that. Maybe you could go outside and triple, but if you double in, you're almost always going to single out if you just nail triples all the way through. There might even be a cheeky quad in there. Like, I don't know. I think there's a few different options definitely possible. So we'll see. I think it'll be kind of fun to, look at it a little bit closer, fine-tooth comb, and see what we come up with on the other side. So this is enough about A1 2025. Now that you guys have seen it, let's take a look at kind of just the rest of the track maps real quick and go over some of my favorites and what I think will look good. All right, so here's a quick look at the 2025 Supercross track maps that are now available here at supercrosslive.com. I'll be sure to link it up. We, of course, just played Anaheim 1. Here's quite a few different views at them. San Diego, of course, Snapdragon Stadium, going to be round 2. Quick little look at this one as well. Kind of just a very simple football stadium layout. Nothing really stands out to me as wild, so maybe a bit mundane. Anaheim 2, kind of interesting, honestly. This one will stand out a little bit. Start straight, has the over-under bridge onto it, back-to-back set of whoops. You even have this weird little rhythm section with a kink in it going down into the home plate area. A lot of busyness going on here. That might be a fun one to try to build and see what it looks like in the game. Of course, like I said, Glendale's going to be tough. I mean, it's a massive stadium, so it's really tough to kind of build anything that will fit in Monster Energy Supercross, but maybe we'll see if we can make something work. I mean, even this rhythm section right here is basically the length of a standard Supercross stadium, and it goes an extra, 50 yards or something like that because they start here in the end zone. Interesting to see that they're actually starting in the end zone, because in the past, they would basically make a start straight that goes the whole distance of the stadium or something like that. So short start straight and a lot of room here in Glendale to do some cool stuff. Round 5 in Tampa, first round of East, we got an interesting start straight that goes right and is kind of angled, so it doesn't use most of the floor space. So I think that this lap time will actually be pretty short. We're back to using a full rhythm section of sand, so we can do that in Supercross 6 as well. So maybe make this one and see how that's going to shape up. Very standard layout, I feel like, for Detroit here, round 6 of the series. Yeah, I mean, a couple different things. The right-handed first turn, again, is going to be a little bit unique, but for the most part, the rhythm sections look pretty status quo. Nothing too crazy there. Arlington, a little bit more off the wall. I feel like one of the key elements of Arlington is going to be this little double right here, because I don't know that they'll be able to make that fit unless they condense some of these rhythm sections. Arlington is a massive floor space, but they might have to play with that a little bit, so this might be one of those tracks I could see ends up changing. Daytona, of course, coming soon. Indianapolis, round 9. We're into the second half. We've seen this layout before. Houston in 2021, maybe, or 22, had a layout very similar to this, but the over-under went over this section right here, and then the finish structure went back this way. So a little bit different with the design philosophy, I guess, but this exact start, come back across under a tunnel, and then loop all around the rest of the track. We've seen that before. I think it'd be actually very tough to build this in Supercross the game, but I could definitely try. This is one I'm super interested in potentially building. Birmingham, left-hand first turn, so we can build it. And then this over-under bridge into a sand section across the start straight is going to be weird, honestly. I think the sand section will be very interesting because it's this big sweeping turn, so it's going to have like 2 different apexes in it. People will probably line up some passes. And that whole design, I don't think I've ever seen where it does like a 270 back under the tunnel, and it's at an angle. It's not like a straight and then turns into a straightaway or something like that. It'll even kind of angle back onto the start. So that one might be kind of fun to try to build. Seattle's very basic in my opinion, but it does have a cool little inside roller thing right here, as you can see. And yeah, otherwise pretty basic. I think Seattle, they kind of try to treat it as like it might rain, so let's leave it a little bit mundane. And then as we get to Foxborough here, we're back to the over-under bridge kind of at an angle. This is like a 45-degree angle to a football stadium. And it actually, I feel like, creates this really fun, like flowy section into a sweeper on the start straight. So another one that might be kind of fun to build just to see how that section flows together. An over-under that's kind of at an angle in the middle of the track as well. Might be a little bit fun to see what that looks like. First time that we'll be going to Pittsburgh. So I'm guessing, why did they call this Philadelphia, unless they're off here? Oh, this is Pittsburgh. So it's weird that they did this because this is supposed to be the yellow seats at Pittsburgh, would be my guess. So maybe they have their track maps backwards, but they don't have it listed here. Either way, so Philadelphia might be this round. This is kind of interesting, really, to me, only because it has this weird U-turn inside line thing. Like, let me see if I could find a better angle of it. Like this right here, you can see they don't have the tough blocks go all the way into this corner. So I'm guessing that means that you can stay on the inside after the whoops and do this double thing, but it forces you to the outside, or you could swoop way around the outside after the whoops and take this inside roller and cut off a ton of the corner, which is honestly, to me, cool because they don't ever do something like that. I mean, rarely at least. We have an off-camber corner as well over here, which kind of may make some interesting passing opportunities in that Supercross triple. So that'll be kind of fun. East Rutherford, kind of seen a lot of tracks that look like this before. I feel like one of the Indianapolises maybe a decade ago had a similar layout to this where it went outside, whoops, outside, out of the first turn complex. So kind of seen it before. And then if this is Pittsburgh or Philadelphia, I'm not sure which way it will go. Overhead look kind of shows us the teetering jumps right here coming into this corner, but it's a very Seattle last year kind of layout for the most part. Or no, when was it? Seattle 2 years ago when they had this jump coming into this corner and it was a little bit off angle. Again, rhythm lanes I feel like are pretty standard looking. Denver, just going to be dry and hard packed, so I think that they kind of made a track that will fit that a little bit better. Berms everywhere. There's no flat corner except for the first turn where you go on off and then a little swoop into here, but berm across the start, berm across the start. I think that they know that it's going to be dry and hard packed, so they maybe made it a little bit better for that. And then the finale in Salt Lake City. Standard for the most part. Again, not a whole lot of variation here, but maybe some things that would be fun to build. Either way, let me know what you guys think about these tracks, which one you would like to see perhaps built and played through and take a look at a little bit as well. But that's it for Anaheim 1 synopsis here, looking at the track maps for 2025 Supercross here on Start Your Systems. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. As always, appreciate you stopping and watching, and we look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. So long for now.